All right, so that's done. I can already see that this is looking super rad, even without seeing it all together. Let's go show all objects, bring our building back in. You know, once again, you can bring up our display options and say, you might even be able to afford 512 by 512 by 512. Be even more exact. If not a huge deal. But I thought I would turn it on now before making a flipbook. So let's run that flipbook and see what that looks like. So there's our flipbook. And it's already looking really cool. I mean, I can identify plenty of things to fix, but this is super rad. I mean, this is a great place to be, if not starting from, it's a great place to be at now. I mean, so far we've changed, we'd made the particle size smaller, which helped a lot with how much smoke there was. We also had turned off the velocity, where we just had 100% velocity being sent into this. All the velocity we're getting right now, remember, is coming from the collapse itself, from the collision veil, really. The one that's being stamped in there around the collider. Because that's what this is all about. It's the suction, it's the pull, it's all of this mass moving through it that's making most of the movement. Besides the initial spikes and stuff, it's mostly the building collapse that's doing it. And then we get the rolling on the bottom here because of our ground plane. So what do we need to do? Probably the main thing we need to do is break up some of these shapes. We have a little bit too much wispiness sometimes here, kind of like cigarette smoky kind of looking things. I mean, we want wisps, but we want it to be maybe a fuzzier, more pyroclastic looking wisp. So certainly by the time we're looking at this stuff here, this is way too smooth. So we need disturbance. We know that. We've used disturbance a lot at this point. And we want to diffuse this stuff out. We needed to, especially the older stuff out here, should start to, drift apart, kind of fuzz out a little bit. I'm going to keep this in case we want to look at it later. But so coming back into our sim, let's actually address some of those things that we just mentioned. And they can let us in. There we go. So what do we want? We just mentioned disturbance. Or yes, gas disturb. So we can put that also in the advection area where we have the collision coming in. The collision's coming in here in advection mostly because I want to keep it separate from the sourcing area. Sourcing tends to be like what happens afterwards. It would probably work over there too, but I'm just used to having it go into the pre-solve stuff. So in any case, I'm going to put a merge here. And there you go. The disturb, I don't really know yet what this is going to look like, so I'm just going to keep the default settings on. I would say that the continuous mode is usually going to be our best bet. I think I've just explained this in previous lessons, but the continuous mode, back in the day we used to do block-based, and then we'd have multiple gas disturbs working at different size blocks. Continuous is a really nice improvement, which allows us essentially to get detail at every level, pretty much, no matter what the resolution is. You can still say the overall size of the pattern by changing the reference scale, but more often than not, I usually can just keep it as it is. So we'll keep that. And then the other thing I wanted was to dissipate. Put that here too. Again, I don't really know yet what this should be. We definitely don't need any evaporation. It's not steam. Just diffusion, just the blurring of it over time. So I'm just going to start it off at, maybe just 0.01, just a little bit. I don't want it to do that much. Again, this is the thing that gets applied every frame. So you want to do a small amount and see how it builds up. That's pretty much it. I mean, at least on my computer, the sims are taking like 10 minutes. Your mileage may vary. But, this is it. We got to iterate. We got to keep running these to see what our changes do. So what you can do is you can copy this, and paste it if you want to if you want to be able to compare it. So I'll say this smoke improved. We can always delete the caches off the disk anyway. And they're much smaller than they might be. So that's another nice reason to compress it so we can compare like a before and after on like frame 81. See what it looks like. So that's pretty much it. So I'm just going to run this and see what it looks like. So there's something. It's, I mean, the disturbance is clearly working, as is the dissipation for that matter. That said, it's obviously too much disturbance, which is fine. You know, that's why we just started with the defaults. But it's like crazy, crazy amounts of being torn apart, both in the areas up here and everywhere else. So it's just too fuzzy. It's like feathers now. So that's no good. So we need to bring down the disturbance. But I would also say, as we bring down the disturbance, this is the earlier one, it'll look, you know, we'll bring it closer to this original one. But I do want to add in some of the velocity, the one that we turned down to 0 before. So we'll increase some of our source velocity to hopefully make some of these initial streaks a little bit more interesting, and at the same time reduce drastically the disturbance, which is obviously got out of control. So let's do exactly that. So coming back in here, you know, it'll often hesitate as it clears the cache out. Here we go with the disturb. I say let's just bring the disturb way down by a fifth, so make it just 5. And then the velocity here, we can increase it. Maybe we'll just go up to not a fifth, but a 0.05. We just want to, I already know I just want to add in a little bit, because you remember from before how crazy it got with the mushrooms and everything when it was adding in all of that velocity. So we'll just add in a little bit. And once again, let's do one of these things. See, I call that one improved, but maybe a step backwards in some way. I'll say we'll call this one much improved. And let's see what happens now. Okay, so here's the result of that latest test, and we can see we've certainly pared back the craziness of it. I also got to say, I'm going to rerun this flipbook again. Things just look a little thin here in general. Let me close these other flipbooks. I'm going to get another one of these volume visualizers. I would like to just see it with more density in general. And, you know, we can do this on the shader itself as well later on when we actually render it. But there we go. I just want to see the detail more. I think it just needs to be some more smoky density here. I'll just put it on this one as well. But in any case, let me run that with the new density, and then we can talk about it.